Hi, my name is Raju. In this session, you will learn how to build a connector to index content into Microsoft Search. How many of you heavily rely on search to get work done? Good. So if all the search boxes at your workplace were to magically vanish, how many of you would still be able to get work done? No? So same with me as well. Even though search plays such a crucial role at a workplace, it's search at work is like far more inefficient compared to search in the consumer life. Why is this so? It boils down to like a few key differences. So on the one hand, you have like the open web, which is public to crawl, but in an enterprise, data is scattered across disparate sources, and information is locked into its own silos. So primarily, this is for like security and compliance reasons, but this makes it hard for like a search admin to help his employees to find all the content that he wants. So to solve this problem, we introduced connectors to Microsoft Search. Connectors are tiny apps that allow you to connect to external data sources and index content into Microsoft Search. Once the content is indexed into Microsoft Search, it would be available just like any other natively supported content already available in the search. So at Ignite, we announced the preview of like 6 Microsoft build connectors and over 100 partner build connectors. If these don't meet your requirements, you would be able to like use the indexing API to build your own custom connectors. So before we dive into the details, let's look at some of the basics. So it all begins with Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph is a platform that you can use to build user-centric experiences in Microsoft Cloud. So all the Microsoft 365 experiences are in fact powered by like the Microsoft Graph, ranging from like Office feed to timeline to Microsoft Search. The Graph also provides you the right API to build your own custom experiences. So in case you want to build a custom search portal or a line of business application with the search embedded in it. So, but this natively supports only the messages, events, and files in Microsoft Graph, which includes all the files in SharePoint and OneDrive as well. But there's like a whole bunch of content sources that you have outside of the graph, which are not participating in search or all the custom search experiences that you have. So connectors help bridge this gap and help bring content from all your external sources into the graph so that they can participate in Microsoft Search as well as your custom search experiences. So I'm going to like walk you through like a demo of a strawman connector. So this is going to be like a simple CSV connector using Postman. So there's a code for like an actual CSV connector available in like GitHub, which I'll point to towards the end of the session. So let's get started. So before we build a connector, we need to get an access token. So for that, I need to like register an app in AAD. So I head back into my Azure. Once I go into Azure Active Directory, I go through simple app registration steps. For the purpose of this demo, I've already like created an app for you here. If you carefully observe the API permissions here, I've added a permission called external-item.readwrite.all. This is a permission that is required to index content into Microsoft Graph. So if you notice, this permission requires like admin consent. You would have to like get admin consent before you can like start building a connector to index content. So once this is done, we go about getting access token. I use the client ID and the app ID and the app secret that I got from the previous step, and I go about like requesting the access token here. So now we have the access token as well. So for the demo, I'm going to like index content present in this particular Microsoft Store web page. So for sake of simplicity, I have copied the data from this site onto like a simple spreadsheet. So this is the content that we are going to index. So building a connector is like super easy. It just takes 3 simple steps. First, you create a connection, then you register the search schema, and finally you go about indexing the content. Let's begin with creating a connection. So currently, Microsoft Search indexes all the content in Microsoft Graph. The connection object in Microsoft Graph was introduced to be a logical representation of your external data source. Once you've created a connection, you will be able to like index content into the Microsoft Graph and hence make it available in all the Microsoft Search canvases, whether it be like office.com, or your SharePoint search, or Bing, and all the other entry points as well. So to create a connection, you go to graph.microsoft.com/beta/external/connections. you use the access token that we created in the first step and make a request. So I pick an ID. We need to, only requirement is to, the ID should be like unique within the tenant, and I provide a friendly name and description to identify this connection. So now the connection is created. Once the connection is created, it would also start showing up in the modern admin center. So this is admin.microsoft.com. So the tenant admin would be able to see all the connections created by various connectors here, and they would have like full control to like view, modify, or delete these connections. So once the connection is created, the next step is to register the search schema. So if some of you are already using SharePoint search, this would be like a very familiar concept to you. So the schema defines how each property in my connection is going to be like consumed in the search experience. So in this preview, we support 3 search attributes: searchable, queryable, and retrievable. When I mark a field as searchable, it is full text index and is made available in the Microsoft search experience. So when I enter a search keyword, so it's compared against like any content that I ingest for product or the description, and it will surface in the search results. Queryable is like a slight variant of the searchable, but it is meant for like scoped search queries. So instead of like a regular search query, I can go into my search bar and say, hey, show me all the results where category is like something, and the results for those alone pop up. And finally, there's retrievable. It's very important to kind of like, you need to be like very judicious when marking a property as retrievable. Any property that you want to add to your search result and make it show up in a display template, those are the only properties you make it mark as retrievable. And these are the only properties the search API will return when you make a search query. There is also a special property called content, which is not part of the schema registration, but which is available out of the box. So any bulk textual content that you have in your items, you would like put it there. In this example, we don't have any, so we'll kind of like skip past it. To register the schema, you do a post into your connection. It's like connection ID / schema, and I have the schema present here. I have listed all the properties along with the data types and the search attributes. Once I make the call, this is an asynchronous call. The schema registration starts. I have to wait for like the schema registration to complete, and once it's done, I can go about like indexing the catalog. The final step in indexing the content is the indexing the content. So there's a structure that's imposed for any item that I'm able to add into my connection. So here you see the structure of an external item. It has like 3 discrete sections. The first section is ACL. ACL is used to specify which users and groups in your organization have permission to view the search result when searching for content. So here I have provided like I have granted access to this item for a particular user with the object ID here. In this preview, we support only Azure Active Directory as the identity source. We do not support external identities, which will come sometime later. So the next section is like the properties. You remember the properties that we registered in the previous step? These are the same properties for which I'm feeding the values here. And finally, if you have like any bulk textual content, you can include that along with the content section. So let's see how to use the API to index the content. So to index the content, I go into like my connection and I do a post on /items with an item ID. The item ID could be like any unique ID, unique within the connection. So, and I do a post of like the ACL properties and content section that you saw. And for this demo, I'm going to use Postman Runner to kind of like index each and every row that was there in the CSV file. So I go and pick the right API, which was like the index product catalog API. I select the environment and select the source file, the CSV, where all this information was present. So Postman also shows like a nice little preview of like the CSV content, which you can see here. So once I'm ready, like I can like go ahead and like run this API. Postman kind of like sends one request per row that was there in the CSV. and you can see all the content that's getting indexed. So there were like 13 rows, and like all 13 calls succeeded. So now, once the content is indexed, we can go to the Microsoft Search experience to see in the search. In the preview time frame, you would have to create a custom vertical. In this case, I've created a custom vertical called catalog, which will show up in my Microsoft Search experience. It's pointing to the product catalog as the content source. And then I create a result type, which is a display template, which determines how the search results corresponding to this item show up in Microsoft Search. So to craft the display template, you would have to create adaptive card JSON. Adaptive card is like a lightweight templating JSON library, which we have used. But you don't have to craft this JSON manually. We have like a very friendly like layout designer. You can head into the layout designer and pick from one of the available templates, or you can use the WYSIWYG editor to create your own. For the purpose of this demo, I've created a display template to show my product catalog details, which looks something like this. I've copied the JSON from this editor and copied back into the result type section there. Once this is all done, I can head back to search, and I will see all my search results show up here. I can do a search query with like a specific term, such as surface, and all the results matching that will start showing up. And to filter down on this result, I can also issue like yet another scoped query. You remember like we marked category as queryable. I can do like a queryable attribute, use the queryable on category and refine this to like just the laptops. So that's pretty much like what it takes to index and surface content into Microsoft Search. We also have a search API. In case you want to search using the API to build custom experiences, you could use this API. To use this API, you would have to use the graph permission external item.read.all, and then you would have to generate like a user access token. So in this step, we are trying to get like a user access token using like standard AAD APIs. Once this is done, we can head back to calling the search API. So this is the search API. And in here, under content sources, I have specified my connection that I just created some time back. And I have like mentioned all the fields that I want to retrieve as a part of this API. When I make the API call, I see all the search results show up. The same results that you saw in the search experience, the default search experience, also show up using the API. So this is how you build your custom search experiences. So just to recap, we saw how easy it was to build a connector. The first step was to create like a connection, which is a container for adding all the items into your index. Then you register the search schema, and finally, you go about indexing the content. So what next? So if you're interested in like building your own connectors, you can sign up for the preview at aka.ms. I want connectors. And all the API docs and the sample connector would be available at aka.ms/mssearch-API. So there were like a plethora of sessions that happened throughout the week around search. So if you're interested in like catching up in any of those sessions, you would be able to watch the recordings. These are the session details that happened over the past week. Yeah, thank you.